Want to achieve network marketing success? Then you're in the right company. Hello, and welcome to Leave Nothing to Chance, hosted by networking marketing giant John Solleder. Learn everything you need to know about the network marketing space from somebody who's actually done it. Join us every week for front row seats as we feature some of the finest and most successful personalities in network marketing. Leave nothing to chance. Join us now.
Well, my privilege to welcome a longtime friend, legend in the industry, author, podcaster, trainer, distributor extraordinaire, et cetera, all the way from beautiful Miami, Florida, my good friend, Mr. Randy Gage. Randy, how are you?
Hey, John, great to be on with you.
Well, it's my privilege, and congratulations, the 15th book in your storied career, the ABCs of MLM. And congratulations. What else can I say?
Each one, it's like children, right? Each one is special. You don't want to love one more than the other, but this is the new, apple of my eye. It's a book that's really needed in the profession, and I'm excited to get it out. I know it's going to help people in a big, big way.
Well, I was privileged that you let me read it a couple months back when you were putting it together. And I thought the same thing, that, boy, it's just timely with all the misinformation out there, that glad you went to explaining how fundamentally simple our business needs to be and be duplicatable. So let's just start. I got a few questions for you. So what do you see happening right now in the network marketing industry?
Some good things and some bad things. The bad things, let's get them out of the way. There's a lot of crypto scams and Forex trading scams that are hurting the profession because they're not network marketing, but they're masquerading as network marketing. And so that's unfortunate. There's some of them are, the worst ones are just out and out Ponzi schemes. And so people are really getting hurt, particularly in the third world, Asia, Latin America, where the idea of people are just being told they're going to make $10,000 in a month. And these are in economies where $10,000 a month is transformational. $10,000 a month puts you in the top 1/10 of 1% of income earners in the country and everything. And, you earn more than physicians and CEOs and people like that. And so they've got people mortgaging their houses and taking their kids' college fund and just dumping their savings into buying these tokens and coins, which have literally zero value. And they're showing them puffed up websites like they're making 22% a day or a week. And so they plunged our lungs out, and that's terrible. And we have some trainers and air quotes gurus who are promoting them. So that's terrible. On the other side, the industry's really advanced. The profession is advanced. We've attracted a whole new generations of people. What I see happening most now is the growth coming from millennials and then X, Y, and Z generations. They are perfectly suited for the business. People of my generation, your generation, we grew up in an employee environment. You were told, get a job for a big company, go to school, get an education, get a job. You're going to work for them for 40 years. They're going to give you a gold watch. We're unusual for our demographic that we're both so entrepreneurial. But now these millennials and the later generations, they're all entrepreneurial. They work 2 days a week at Starbucks or delivering for Pizza Hut, and then they drive Lyft or Uber, and they monetize their cat videos on YouTube, and they got a swag store on Instagram selling t-shirts or ball caps, and they're doing Robinhood investments. And, so when we come to them with what we have, which is entrepreneurial, but without the crazy you know, you need $1 million credit to open up a McDonald's, or $2 million credit, or you need $200,000 to open a muffler shop or a Subway franchise or something. We have this great entrepreneurial thing that's without a big investment, without education, and without that. And so we've attracted a lot of those people, and they're crushing it in the business right now.
Well, I couldn't agree more. You know, I was just down in Mexico City last week for our company's annual convention. And you know our company, but of course we keep all this generic, but I have a group in Monterrey, Mexico that I met with. 17 to 21-year-olds, 15 of them fully bilingual. And to your point, every one of them entrepreneurial. The questions that they asked me, I thought I was talking to guys our age. Matter of fact, guys our age wouldn't have asked as good of questions. So, boy, you were right on. I couldn't agree more. Hey, tell us about the new book, though. What is it about, and why did you write it?
Well, I believe you make or break your new distributors in the first 2 weeks, and the first 48 hours is critical. I also believe hope is what gets people in the business, and belief is what keeps them in the business. So they join because they hope to get a bonus car, win that trip on the cruise or Hawaii. They want to earn those big bonus checks. They hope it'll happen. That's why they join. And fortunately, our profession has a huge churn of people who drop out because they don't reach success early enough, and they don't keep the hope dies down. And when we get people to belief, they stay in, right? So when they go on that tipping point from hope to belief, like now, I don't think so you had a convention last week, right? So your people go there and they see you, they see the other top ranked people in your company walking across the stage, and they know, hey, John has got the same product line I do, same comp plan, same marketing materials, and it works for him. So there's hope for me. And if they see enough of people like you, they say, I know it'll work for me. And they meet the CEO, they shake their hands, they look in their eye. You see this happen a lot at major events. That's why we always push them so hard, because they're the cause where a lot of people go from hope to belief. But that takes a while. And the idea of this book is, let's build up that belief quick in the first week. I literally want people to read. I want a new distributor to read the book before they call their first candidate. And you know, you've read the galley. Somebody could read this book in 20 minutes. This is not a how-to book. It's a why-to book. It's to anchor their belief, to know, hey, what I'm doing has substance. It has value. What I'm doing matters. And it's inspirational. It does, you know, I work in the how-to stuff, but really it's more in the why-to way of, here's what you're doing with it and why. And so if we can keep people in, get them, you know, it's what kind of results can we get a new distributor in their first 2 weeks? Can we get them some customers, and can we get them some builders? And if you can do that in the first 2 weeks, they stay forever, right? There's a tipping point, right? And it's different in every country, but depends on the economy. But when we can get someone to the point where their monthly bonus check, or, you know, whether they might be weekly, but the amount they earn in a month covers their product cost, it covers their self-development, and it covers their events. You get them there, and they'll never leave. They'll be there forever, because now they have belief. They've seen it's worked, and they can see incrementally when they take these specific actions, they get these specific results. And so what I know this book will do for teams is dramatically strengthen their duplication and dramatically increase their retention. And that was my motivation, you know, why I felt, hey, this is the missing link that people need right now. This is it.
So what will this do for a new distributor when they read it?
I think it'll give them that confidence and that posture when they make those first 10 calls. And they're inviting people to whatever they're inviting them to, whether it's a home meeting, a hotel meeting, a Facebook Live, but they're actually looking at that candidate list. And, one of the things they learn in this right away is, hey, go contact the most busy, most ambitious, most successful people on your list first. Those are the people, right? This book will give them that confidence to do that.
Great. And now what about people in leadership positions? What will the book do for them?
For them, it's going to be all about retention. I know so many leaders who are grinders. They make big checks, but they're, if we're being honest, they're total grinders to get them, right? I know leader, they're just working till 2 or 3 a.m. at night because they're just at 3 a.m. they're talking, they live in New York, and at 3 a.m. they're talking to their line in Hawaii, and they're just kind of working across the time zones because they don't have systems, they don't scale, nothing is automated. And so they have such a high churn that they have to always be recruiting every month, all the time. And it's exhausting, right? I took a 2-year sabbatical and saw my bonus check go up during that. And as far as I know, since 1956, with what became the Amway Corporation and Dr. Forrest Shackley, those guys both started in 56. Since 1956 to April, whatever it is now, 2024, I believe I'm the only person in the history of network marketing who could ever do that, who could literally leave for 2 years and still have your check go up. Most people I know, if they took 3 weeks off, they lose 50% of their thing because they don't have systems. They don't, the mantra, how do you automate? How do you systematize? How do you scale? Right? So that isn't all in this book, but what this book will do is keep them around long enough to read, let's say, my direct selling success book, to go to some major events, to learn what I call the parachute skills, how to meet people, how to work a candidate list, how to invite, how to use tools for presenting, how to follow up, right? If I call them the parachute skills, because once you learn them, you could parachute into any free country on earth and you could build a business, even if you didn't speak the language, right? We could parachute you, like you know all the parachute skills. We could parachute you into Italy, even though you don't, I believe, speak Italian. But you can meet one person who's bilingual, and because you know those parachute skills, you could start building the business, and through them, you could build a huge business. We could take him and parachute him into Germany, even if he didn't speak German, and he could do the same thing. So, but that only happens if we keep our people long enough to get the hope to believe. And that's where the book will really help them.
You're bringing me back in time here because, like yourself, 40 plus years you're doing this stuff, and sometimes you have those moments where you think of something. You just said something. When I joined my first company, there was a little girl who was a grocery checker and a school teacher named Jerry Satanovich. And I remember her saying, she got her first check. It was 98 cents. A 98-cent check, even in 1980, I guess it was. Yeah, I'm probably not going to cash it, right? Like, why bother going to the bank, right? Maybe you're doing some further banking visit. But she went down to the bank and she cashed it. And but the fact that the check cashed meant that the business was real. And that girl's one of the hugest people in that particular company still to this day, 45 years later. And you're so right about that, Randy. It's like that belief that, hey, I can do this. Sure, yeah, I can see this person, that person, they're successful, but can I actually do it? And I think this book's going to help a lot of those people to see the forest through the trees, so to speak. So let's get back to the challenges in the industry today. What do you think the specific challenges that the profession is facing right now, besides what you've already mentioned, the Bitcoin scams and all that nonsense? What do you think the biggest challenges are today?
I don't think enough people understand why you have to have a system. We have a lot of companies that don't invest in consultants, professionals, training. They don't create the tools for their leaders who need them. So how many companies do you have? I was just on a podcast with Dana Collins, and we were talking about what she had just gone through coming out of a company meeting. And it's like, so you get, this happens all the time. I'll consult with a company. They'll say, okay, we got the convention coming up. I say, great, let's plan the agenda. Send me what you got so far. And they're like, okay, we're going to have the VP of marketing is doing a keynote, and the VP of sales is doing a keynote, and the CEO is going to do a keynote, and the president is going to do a keynote, and the CFO is going to do, and the COO. I'm like, well, nobody wants to hear from these people. They want to hear from the CEO or the president, right? Who's the visionary leader, but nobody wants to hear a keynote speech from the chief financial officer. Nobody wants to hear a keynote from the HR director. They just don't. They don't want to hear a keynote even from the marketing person, usually, because it's not about what they're doing. People come to those conventions and they need to learn those parachute skills. They need to learn what happens when I'm in a living room with 5 people in front of me. What happens when I'm in a Starbucks with a flip chart or a presentation on my smartphone, and I have a candidate across the table from me? I was in corporate headquarters last week with 5 VPs, and they were talking about, I'm being very cagey here because I don't want to embarrass anybody and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. So how do I word this delicately? They were like, so one of them was trying to explain how to explain the comp plan. And I said, sorry, that's not how it works in the real world. Let me tell you how it works in the real world. So they've got a hybrid plan, right? It's a binary with unilevel elements, with some stair step elements, right? But so they were like explaining how to do the plan. And I was like, let me explain to you how this is done in the real world. Okay. You have this circle, and then because it's a hybrid based on a binary, you have 2 slots under your spot. And when you're talking to a candidate, you're telling them, I have 2 spots. Each of these spots is the equivalent of owning a block in downtown Chicago or a block in Tokyo. This is the most valuable real estate in the world, because everything I do, I will be building down one of those 2 lines. So timing and position. So I'm not putting just anybody in there. If you want to be in one of those slots, you're going to come in with the leadership pack. You're going to set up and monthly auto ship. You're going to commit to at least 10 or 15 hours a week. You're going to work the business. You're going to commit to me. You're going to do this for 1 year. And then you're going to evaluate, right? So I'm explaining like how I would explain this to a candidate. And their jaws were just dropped on the table. Like, oh my God, that's how it works in the real world, right? They've been in the Marriott when somebody was doing a meeting. And so they think they know how to recruit, but they don't know what it is to have made your presentation and be waiting. Is that candidate going to take out her or his credit card and say, lock me in a spot? They don't know that, right? So what happens? You have those 6 executives doing their keynotes, and they've all heard Tony Robbins and they know his stories, and they heard Zig Ziglar back in the day, and they heard, whatever, Mr. Grant Cardone or whoever the hell. And so, and then they're telling the why the mama eagle pushes the eagles out of the nest story, and the starfish on the beach story, and why grandma cuts the end off the ham in the oven story. And it's all the, the tropes that they heard from some motivational speaker, and everybody wants to be a motivational speaker. So meanwhile, your people, you just took your whole sales force, the top people, you took them out of the field for 3, 4, or 5 days, and all you're giving them is the mama eagle story. If you're not teaching them how to meet people, how to make compelling invitations, how to follow up, how to use the mobile app, how to create contacts on social media, how to migrate people from the candidate list into distributors, how to fast start them, what's the new distributor orientation looking like. That's what's not getting done in too many companies. It's just the fluffy stuff. You got some CEO up there and they say, these products, they just sell themselves. No, that's not how it works in the real world, Jimmy. Just think of people who would like products like, you like the product, just think, no, that's not how it works. One of the things, there's each chapter in the book, as is like 1 page. These are short, bite-sized lessons. So one of them is recruit for the 90%, not the 10%. People say, what does that mean? Well, about 10% of the population are sales types. They know how to sell. They love selling. They know all the closing techniques. They, do all the rah-rah stuff. Those are the people who say, I love to hear a no, because when I hear 9 more no's, then I know I'm going to get a yes. Well, me, when I hear a no, I'm despondent and suicidal. You know what I mean? I'm not a sales type. I don't want to be a sales type. I hate selling. What I'm really brilliant at is marketing. I love to create marketing campaigns that bring me a steady stream of qualified candidates. We're looking for people who are looking. If they're not looking, we're not looking for them. So what I say, like in that page, is, so build your recruiting for the 90% who are not sales types. Get the engineers, get the school teachers, get the karate instructors, get the HR directors, because those people have teaching and training skills. And that's where duplication lives. If if you're amazing with sales techniques and closing techniques, you're going to close a lot of people, but you're not going to duplicate, because 90% of the people can't do that. So the thing, that companies have got to learn, and big time field leaders have got to learn is, hey, no, I need to build my stuff for the 90%. I need to create third party or external source tools. You and I have both been around for all the nutrition companies and the wellness companies, and the people who can, they all want to put on a lab coat and do a 2-hour training on their product line, even though they're not doctors, they're not nurses, they're not medical professionals, but they want to prescribe and diagnose because they are so enamored with the products. Unfortunately, that's dangerous, and it's illegal, and it doesn't duplicate. So we've got to teach them, no, and companies have to make that investment in tools. They got to create a kick-ass product line video, let's say, if they're a wellness company, so that nobody has to learn how to do a 2-hour nutrition seminar. They can say, hey, I'm going to send you a link to a video. Will you watch this video and call me as soon as you're done? That's what we call an external source tool. And that's where duplication lives. So we've got to teach more leaders and teach more companies how to do that kind of stuff.
What are the best ways to protect and support our teams now?
We have to educate them. They've got to hear about the crypto scams from us before they hear about them from the crypto scams. We've got to show them how legitimate network marketing companies work. We have to protect our team from the parasites. There's this whole cottage industry of social media trainers, broadcasting trainers, copywriters. Now it's AI and ChatGPT. And so you have all these people that want to sell stuff to your team and they don't know the business. So your team gets approached with a $499 course on how to buy ads on social media. Great. It's going to work. It's not going to duplicate. Or they're going to buy a $500 course on how to be a content factory like Gary V. Well, Gary V has 2,000 employees. He pays 5 people a day to follow him around every time he goes to the bathroom. You're not going to duplicate Gary V. And if you do, none of your people are going to be able to duplicate you. So we have to protect them from this stuff that looks so delicious, but it's actually a distraction, right? So like my team, I've made a couple $1 million easy just with people that I've met on social media, right? That's where I developed a relationship. But I'm teaching my people, no, I don't want you to buy ads. No, I don't want you to buy a SEO, search engine optimization course. No, I don't want you to try to be a content factory. I don't want you to buy any of those things, hire any of those consultants, buy any of those ebooks. I want you to be present on social media. I'm going to show you how to set up your profiles so you exist there. And then how to have real conversations with real people. Like, me, I'm a softball guy. So I'm posting and I'm writing and interacting with people about softball. I I have my interests. Everyone has their interests. Do that. Just be on social media, be real, and engage. But if you buy a system that says, okay, make 10 posts a day, go to 25 other posts and comment every day, go to 100 posts every day and like them. Come on, it's just manipulative. You're not going to develop any real relationships there because you're just following a cookie cutter template formula created by somebody who doesn't understand the dynamics of duplication. So this is the kind of stuff that's how we have to protect our team. Say, hey, I just saw a thing. There's a new $500. And we got to say, Nancy, when's your next presentation that you can get a candidate in front of? Oh, I hear there's a new company and they have an extra 2% on the Infinity Bond. Jimmy, when's your next presentation that you can get a candidate in front of, right? We have to kill all those distractions and just keep them focused on the fundamentals of how we grow a business.
Love it. So let me ask you this, Randy. You've seen, and I've seen, and guys our age that have been around the industry as long as we have, we've seen a lot of technological stuff happen along those lines. And to that point, how do you keep the good technology working to the point of duplication and try to keep the bad technology, everything you just mentioned there, we could probably come up with 50 more things, right?
Yeah.
All the experts in our industry that never built a downline or had a check,
right?
Right? Because there's a lot of those. And how do we keep that noise so that they use the technology to build their business as opposed to getting caught up in the guru of the month, right? And you just mentioned a few of them, and there's a few more of them out there, and they're not necessarily bad people, but at the end of the day, they're out for what they're out for. They're not necessarily out for you to build your business. And if you're a little guy, which most people in our business are, most people in our industry, you spend a lot of money before you figure that out. So how do they keep that focus on it?
Page 48. Cutting edge equals off the ledge. It's what we have to teach our people is with technology. And by the way, I know a lot about technology. Even though I'm a boomer, I'm not a digital native, right? I didn't grow up with this stuff. But I've written 2 New York Times best-selling books on technology. One is called Riskiest and New Safe. And I looked at cryptocurrencies and Uber and Lyft and I wrote that book in 2012, and I made a bunch of predictions that make me look like a genius, right? So I understand technology, right? But I also understand network marketing because I've been doing this since I'm 20. So I understand if I've got a Silicon Valley startup, I want what they call bleeding edge technology, right? You have dull edge, you have cutting edge, you have leading edge, then you have bleeding edge, right? So if you're an investor in a Silicon Valley startup, you want bleeding edge. But if you're in network marketing, you want dull edge. You want Facebook, because grandmas know how to use Facebook now, because they go and they share their grandchildren pictures, right? That's dull edge. That's what. So you got a Facebook group? Good. That's dull edge. You got a profile on Instagram, or I hate to say TikTok, but let's say you're on TikTok. Okay, great. That's dull edge. But if you're starting with all the, I'm going to use ChatGPT to do all my recruiting messages. No, you're not. I'm going to use this software, this AI. No, it's going to work, but it's not going to duplicate. And so we've got to show them, hey, there's ways that this, and for people who are interested, for a deep, deep dive, I have a podcast. It's called the Duplication Nation MLM Podcast. It's on all the platforms. Check it out, and then search for the show that's called Digital Duplication. And it's like more than an hour. It's a deep dive into the things we can do that are dull edge, that work great in our business. And then the bleeding edge, leading edge stuff that it's great for in some other context, but it's not great for what we need to do here, because remember something, every one of you listening or watching right now, the single sexiest thing we have to offer is leverage. We can show the average person how they can unleash the power of leverage, just like Taylor Swift does, like J.K. Rowling does, like Oprah Winfrey does, like Elon Musk does, like Mark Cuban, Steve Jobs did. That's what we have, but that only works if you're doing the business in a way that people can duplicate.
Love it. So here's another one. Somebody asked me this question the other day, and I did not have a great answer. So I'm going to come to Randy Gage, because I know you always got a great answer. When I don't have an answer, I go to Randy Gage. So here's what they asked.
A lot of pressure here. A lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure. We both done a few zeros in this industry. So the guy said to me, he said he was talking to his kid, who's about the age of my son, who you know a little bit. And he said, my son, and the dad's been in network marketing for years, like we have, not as long as we have, but he's been a good part-time guy, full-time now, not with our company, with another company. And anyways, a friend. And he asked me this question. And I said, I'm going to ask Randy Gage this, see what he has to say. So here it is. He said, my son said, Dad, I need to make $1,500 per month. It's a college kid. I need to make $1,500 per month. Help pay my tuition. He's living home, driving one of Dad's old cars, but at the end of the day, wants a new car, he's got a girlfriend, wants to spend some money on the weekends, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, Dad, I'm looking at the Lyfts, the Ubers, the Uber Eats. He says, and I think I could make $1,500 a month doing that. And the father, of course, said to him, yeah, but a year from now, you'll still be doing the same thing, probably making the same $1,500 per month. If you get in my business, we can grow exponentially. We, geometric, all the stuff, all the things that we use to tell people about how our business works. And the dad said to me, what would you say? And I said, well, of course, I would tell your son, hey, do both. Okay. I mean, make if the low hanging fruit's $1,500 and he can make that in 15, 20 hours a week, great. That's cash flow. But meantime, get in your business and start to build a business so he can, have a check, et cetera, et cetera. That was my answer. It's not a great answer. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think it was a great answer, because I would say same thing. I don't, 20, 30-year-old guy comes to me, gal comes to me, and they're doing that. I'm saying, great, you already understand the side gig thing. Now and I don't want them to quit driving Lyft or Uber or whatever they're doing. That's bringing them cash flow, right? And they need the cash flow. And I want them to do my business without pressure. I want them to, and whatever they make in my business, I want them to reinvest it back in their business. Because then I can show them how to turn that $1,500 a month into $15,000 a month in 3 years, maybe 2 years, maybe, if they're really serious. So, but I want them to keep, but the point I'm going to make to them is, okay, great, you're doing Grubhub, but if you're not delivering the Kung Pao chicken to apartment 3B, you ain't getting paid. You're driving Lyft, great, but if the guy isn't at the airport who needs to ride to the Marriott, you're not getting paid. When you work for Uber, you are training the robot that's going to replace you. Every trip you take goes into a computer algorithm, and they know what's the busy time, the peak times, what's the off times, where do people get picked up, where do they go, how many miles is it, how many cars do we need, and then when the self-driving automobiles are legalized, you're done. You have trained the self-driving car that's going to replace you. So you're driving Uber now, great. Just don't think you're going to be driving Uber 7 years from now, because Uber's going to throw you out like yesterday's garbage. Okay. You're going to be like 3-day-old fish to them. What you got to do is build residual income. You got to practice leverage. So we've got to show people, we got to make the argument of, we are the best side gig business because we've got the leverage long-term. And that's what they're not going to get in those other ones. So, but while they're doing it right now, great. I want them to do that. Like I say, that most of the people I'm working with, like, they're doing 5 different things like that. They Starbucks 2 days a week, and then they, their Instagram store. And it's like every time we do a seminar now, everybody who's under 40 comes up to me afterward and gives me their business card and says, hey, now, I notice you're wearing a baseball cap. I have a business. I make baseball caps. Or, oh, I notice you're kind of stylish guy. I have a business. I make hoodies, and they give me their card for their hoodie. Or they do document signing at home, or they do translation at home, or they do, the Lyft, the Uber, the, Grubhub, the DoorDash, the whatever, they're all doing that. And that's great. We just have a better model of all those side gig things, because what those don't offer is leverage, and we have the leverage.
Great point. So I got 2 last questions for you. First one, most importantly, is where do they get the ABCs of MLM books and your other books?
All right, so the English and Spanish are both out now. English is on Amazon, so that's for anyone who wants English, just go to Amazon.com, search, and then, I don't have so let me see, I think it's waseditorial.com is where the Spanish book is. So those are both out right now. By the time the show is broadcast, there'll probably be some more. We're pretty close on Turkish, the audiobook versions. I haven't recorded yet, but they'll be soon. We have, it's going to be in a lot of languages. But right now, English on Amazon and Spanish on waseditorial.com.
Great. And the next question is, so what's ahead for Randy Gage? 15 books, 9,000 speeches, et cetera, busy guy all over the world. In between, playing softball every time you get a chance. And well, you know what? I lied. I got one other question for you, but we'll come to that next. So what's next? What's next on the horizon?
I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to be out in the field doing what I do. And I want to show people that you can really be, my goal is, I don't want to sound like a jerk or sound like a whatever, but I was actually involved in a company that built this incredible team, 200,000 people over 50 different countries. And it got sold and the new people were not ethical. And so I left. But I always felt, man, I literally could have made that a company doing a couple $2 billion a year. And so that's what I'm going to do for 2024, 2025. I'm going to work to be part of the team that creates the next unicorn. Doing a couple $2 billion at least in things, and just show people that, yeah, that's anyone can do it. You still can do it. I believe we're entering just a golden era for our profession because of where we're going with social media, because of everything that happened with the pandemic and the lockdowns and the inflation and the supply chain disruptions, the unemployment rates. I just think we're going to be in a golden era for our profession in the next couple of years. Fortunes are going to be created and millions of people are going to be introduced to our profession. And I'm going to be leading the charge and writing more books and doing events. I have my site I do with Jaime Lokier, as you know, duplicationnation.com. We've just generic training stuff for the profession, and books like this that can help people, and totally generic, safe to give to your team and work with your team, but teaching them the principles of what's really working right now.
Great. And I want to thank you on behalf of the industry, because so many people have learned from you and they use things like this. And I'm going to use this ABC's book. When you sent it to me, I was like, boy, you were right on. The messaging for where we are as an industry is right on. And to your point, I look at these young people through their eyes, try to put yourself in their shoes like we were, 40 some odd years ago. And I see people that are going to need to know how to be self-employed. They're going to have some skills, because the McDonald's jobs are disappearing. The high-tech jobs are either outsourced, or, you need super level of skills to achieve them. You better figure something out. And our industry is the best kept secret for these young folks. So with the 100%. But here's the last question. Let's have some fun. So every time I see you on Facebook lately, you got your softball uniform on. How many teams are you playing for? How's the season going? What are you hitting? I mean, all the important questions.
Well, the World Series will be in October this year for my league, the main league. It's going to be in Las Vegas. So I will be, we're working to be there for that. And then I get invited to some of these travel teams that go out on tournaments around. And I turned 65 like a week and a half ago or something. So now I could play in the 65 plus, but I could be in the 60 plus, the 50 plus. So there's a lot of those travel teams around, and I still can, that senior bat, I can still pop a few out every game. So I'm in demand for the travel teams. And, I love doing it. So I do those whenever I can.
Great. Well, it's so great to see you out there. And I share your passion as a senior athlete, right? It's not no pressure nowadays. Now we just do it for fun, and we're just blessed to be able to do it, right?
Right. 100%.
Great. Well, Randy, I want to thank you once again, my friend. Appreciate it. Best of luck with the ABCs of MLM and all of your other hard work. And I got to tell you guys, I've worked with a lot of people in this industry, and Randy is a guy who shows up to work. Okay. He's not afraid of work. And, when we worked together for a short time, I'd get texts from him at 2:00 in the morning and 6:00 in the morning. And I was like, this kind of guy I like to work with. So once again, I want to thank you for some of the things I've learned from you, and the contribution you made to our company while we worked together, and contribution you made to the industry for these many, many years, and what's going to come in the future to help other people to, support themselves. So thanks again, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me on and spreading the word and doing your work.
Thanks. Any last word?
No, I'm good to go.
Great. Thanks so much, Randy.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Leave Nothing to Chance. If you want to know more about what it takes to succeed in the network marketing space, join us again next week for another amazing episode. For additional resources and to connect with John Solleder, visit leavingnothingtochance.com. Don't forget to leave a review, and we'll see you next time.